Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show today, the Wise Agent Society's, what are we on? The Sharpen the Saw, episode 22 with Miss Katie Trees of KC Title and Escrow. Thank you all for coming on the show. Thank you for coming on the show today, Katie. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Shay. It's an honor.
You bet. Yeah. It's a glorious day here in the Midwest, and happy to be in a warm house, warm home office. You're in your work office? You're in your work office, right?
I'm in my work office. I am.
Yep. So nice that we have a nice warm place to get work done, right?
I agree.
Yeah. So thanks so much for coming on the show. The way I kind of lay it out for everybody is that we will talk just a little bit about how we know each other. We'll talk about your journey into the business that you're in. And then we will talk a little bit about what the show is going to be about today, which is basically how closings work in Iowa in general and how that might be different from other places. Does that sound good?
Sounds great to me.
Cool. So you and I have met through, basically Holly Brink introduced us, I think, some time ago, two or 3 years ago.
Yep, it's been a few years.
Yep. And on one of my own personal transactions. And basically that's what you do is help folks in Iowa, agents and clients, basically go through the closing or settling process of a real estate transaction, right?
Yeah, correct. Any real property transaction in the state of Iowa.
Mm-hmm. In the state of Iowa, right. And you guys can do mobile notary and all that stuff anywhere in the country, right?
Correct. We can actually anywhere in the world. We can notarize any documents on behalf of a client that anywhere in the world, as long as they have a good internet connection and can video and audio chat with us. Wow.
For the notary part even.
Correct. It's a remote online notarization, and it was a process that was put into place during COVID to facilitate real estate closings. You do have to have a license through the state of Iowa. It's separate than your notary license. You have to purchase the software and be on an approved platform that's approved by the state of Iowa in order to electronically sign and electronically notarize those documents. It's a complete notarization done electronically with signatures. So it can't be a combination of wet signatures and electronic signatures. It's all electronic signatures on the documents.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll get back to a little bit more about how we know each other, but real quick while we're on this is fascinating, so let's say we have, and I've had this exact example before, let's say we have a seller client in Africa that needs to sign documents to, sell their property in Las Vegas. This was the one I did.
Right.
They had to go to the U.S. consulate in I forget which exact place it was in Africa, but is that still the case then? They would have to go to like a U.S. consulate or not necessarily?
Any longer. As long as you're using remote online notarization software and you have the license, you can notarize a signature of anyone in the world. Yes, previously they did have to make an appointment at the American Embassy in the country that they were in to get their signatures taken care of, which sometimes could be 2 to 3 weeks for an appointment.
Yes.
But that is not needed no longer.
Oh, wow. That is so cool. That would have been, like this particular client was like a speck in the blip of their, portfolio.
Right.
Like it happened to be like a $40,000 condo in Las Vegas. And they had bought recently a $9 million house cash in Hollywood or somewhere in LA. I can't remember. I thought it was Hollywood. So it was really hard to get them to make an appointment to go to the embassy.
Right.
To do that. So, wow, that is really a game changer.
That's a service that we offer across the board, whether we are handling the escrow for the property or not. We have several clients that we just handle remote online notarization services for and are no part of the closing process. So that's a side service that we do offer to clients. One other thing I do always like to point out, though, in the state of Iowa, if it's a document, mortgage, or specifically a warranty deed in the state of Iowa, right now, Iowa Bankers Bank, if they are handling the financing for the buyer, they are not accepting RON notarized warranty deeds. It is an issue that's been addressed at several different levels because it is a valid legal document. So that's a process that we've been working through for about 12 months. But as of right now, every recording office and every other lender and institute in the state of Iowa is accepting those warranty deeds, with the exception of Iowa Bankers Bank.
Okay, well, that's a very small market that they're probably in compared to globally. So
Correct.
Good to know, though, so that you can get that covered should somebody be banking with that bank.
Right.
We'll circle back to some more of that good stuff. So that was a great way to start out the show, because that's just great information right off the top. I mean, that's really a game changer when it comes to international investors being able to sell properties, but also just in general. Who wants to? And you know what? Now that you mentioned that, I did a mobile notary on one of our sales not long ago in San Diego, like a personal sale.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I totally forgot about it. So very cool. We know each other through doing a couple of transactions. And then I've learned quite a bit about you lately, and Colleen as well, about where you're at. Are you in Spencer? Is that right?
Yeah, we're located in Northwest Iowa. Mm-hmm. We are about an hour and 30 minutes to the east of Sioux Falls and about 20 minutes south of the Minnesota border. So we're up in the top northwest corner. Mm-hmm. We're located in downtown Spencer.
Yep.
And this is our hometown. We grew up here in Milford, in the area here. And that's where we have our business now.
Yeah, I love it. And then I've heard, I haven't seen yet, we had to reschedule our lunch, which we'll do again soon. But your building is pretty nice, and you have other people in there, other companies in there too. Is that right?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough about 3 years ago to be able to build out the old part of the movie theater that was in downtown Spencer for many years. It had been sitting empty for quite some time, and I'm good friends with the gentleman that owns the building, and he decided it was time to allow something new to go into the space. So we had the ability to gut the place and had a clean slate. We kept the floors and the brick wall. Some of the wall is behind us here. And basically,
cool.
The dream was to open up an executive suites office where other individuals that were starting out, companies that were working from home, would have the ability to come into an office space that was fully functional, modern, have a meeting place to meet with their clients in order to help them grow their small business in our area. And so we have that here. We have office space that we rent out to a couple different companies. We have our attorney that's in here, and then a mortgage company rents a space out of here. And then all of our agents that we work with have the ability to use our conference room whenever they're in town or need to meet with clients. So that's what we have in the space here. It's actually, it's a nice addition to downtown Spencer.
Yeah.
And we really enjoy being in here every day. It's a great place to work.
Well, I mean, just from what you've described a little bit, and like I can see that cool brick wall in the back and all of that, is I know it's a pretty building and a pretty cool place to go work. Mm-hmm. And that's so cool that you allow the agents to come in and spend time there and use office space when needed. That's
right.
A really cool thing for the agent community in the area.
Right. And, a lot of, besides EXP, there's other real estate agents that don't necessarily have a brick and mortar office in our area.
Yeah.
And it is just nice if you're going to be meeting with a client to have a professional place to go and sit down. And even when they're not meeting with clients, some days you just need an organized area to come and just clear your mind and be with other like-minded individuals and conduct business type activities, whether it's just catching up on your emails, returning phone calls, setting new appointments, have the ability to go out to lunch with other business members and brainstorm and just talk about, things that are going on in our community. It's a nice benefit when somebody pops in for the day, and it's enjoyable for us as well. just to be around different people. And it's a nice experience.
Yeah, that's really cool that you guys do that. And it is important to have like high-minded business people be able to collaborate and run into each other, so to speak.
Right.
Google talks about creating collisions. I can't remember exactly. I think it's called something like that, right?
Yeah, it's an unintentional collision with other like-minded individuals that allow you to expand, what you have going on in your own mind. That you don't necessarily plan. It's not something that we plan. And it's amazing how when like-minded individuals get together and just chat on a regular basis, and you can bring up new ideas and bounce ideas off of each other, whether you're in the same industry or not in the same industry.
Yeah.
Anybody that's trying to grow any type of business really benefits from that.
Right. And that's something I've done from the beginning. This is a relationship business, first of all. And second of all, I like to have relationships with all types of business people, not just real estate, although I love real estate, but there's so many connections to real estate. Like there are all kinds of business people also doing real estate. Like they have to buy or sell property or whatever it is. So plus then there's also the networking connections as far as like, trading referrals. So if you have attorney friends or business associates and of different types, then you can share referrals with each other. And so that's a great collaboration there too. So big deal to be able to provide that for agents. I hope the agents in your area are really taking advantage of that when they can, because you guys are great people coming from abundance. And there's so many people out there coming from scarcity. This is a really cool thing that you're coming out this way in such a mindset of abundance. So I love it.
Yeah, it's exciting. Back to like our history, part of the reason that I have the passion for it and growing the businesses, it was back in late 1999 when I got into the mortgage industry. 1998, I had a position at Beneficial. I was an assistant loan officer. This was a long time ago. I, look back at those days and think we were writing first mortgages at like 12% and second mortgages at 18%.
This is what year? 99?
1998.
Really? That's how high interest rates were at that time?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I've heard of the 80s, when it was like 16, 18%. But I didn't know that like the late 90s were in the 12s.
Yeah, it was in 12%. And then usually the loan origination fee for the mortgages was 6%. So, right now you're seeing no origination or 1%, or you're paying points to buy your rate down. And that was just a standard back then. It was 6% origination, 12% interest rates. And we were busy then. And we talk about it and you wonder, how is it possible that an individual could afford something like that? Well, I remember the first year in the business, we started a 90-day same as cash for the furniture store that was in our strip mall. And that was the first program. This was up in Burnsville, Minnesota, that rolled out 90-day same as cash for furniture purchases. Credit cards were new. Nobody really had any debt besides their house payment or a car payment. So, paying a 12% interest rate was normal. Like you could afford it because you had no other debt,
Oh, I see. Sure.
There was no cell phones. We didn't have cell phone bills. So things were a lot different back then. And now just, moving through, I started out at Beneficial, went with one of the loan officers there to Ames Mortgage Corporation and was a processor. And then did that for a couple years, and then was using a real estate company in Bloomington to handle closings for us, and went to work with them, National Real Estate out of Bloomington, Minnesota.
Okay.
And I closed loans with them for probably 2 years. My son had been born and we moved to Southern Alabama to be closer to some family. And I still managed my closing business from Alabama because I just had notaries that went out and did my closings for me. So that was a fun time. BlackBerry had just come out that year.
So what year was this again?
Cell phones. What
year was this?
2002.
2002, Blackberries were just coming out.
I think, yeah.
And you were way ahead of your time doing all this notary work and stuff. I mean, there's still people today in Iowa, companies, and that like don't understand and don't have like notaries on standby for like everything. There's still people in other countries or states too, but
yeah, I have 2 notaries that I've worked with for 15 plus years. Like they've just been I basically have 5 go-to notaries in the state of Iowa that I work with on a regular basis, and they've been like on my team for many years. And the thought that, when you say that, I think about it when we come across a company that, the thought of using a notary is just so foreign to them. I'm just like, this is crazy to me. Why? Yeah. So, but everybody does things their own way, and I can appreciate that. Sure. And then I was down in Alabama for a couple years, and we just weren't happy down there. It's a different way of life. Moved back up to Minneapolis, worked up there. Then my kids started school and couldn't stand being in Minneapolis, so decided to move home back to Iowa. Had my closing business, but worked from Iowa, and then developed some relationships within Iowa, and opened up a closing company, a branch basically in Iowa. And I think it's interesting because at that time, some of my original loan officers that were in the Minnesota market ventured out to Nevada.
Oh, wow.
Opened an office up there. So I got my Nevada license and had a closing company out on Tropicana, which was a great time because those were some great business trips. Going out there. My closer, Tammy, she's still out there doing closings. I get a deal every month or so out in Vegas, and I love giving her a call. Just some clients that are out there. She'll go out and do closings for me still. So I did that for a while, and then it was about 3.5 years ago, I decided it was time to take the next step, and my sister was ready. She'd been in the business for quite some time too. I got her into the business after high school, and she was working for a real estate agent, and we just decided it was time to put all of our fruit into one basket and open up our own company. And that's how we formed KC Title, which is I'm Katie and she's Colleen. And basically between the two of us, we're here. We're running deals all over the state of Iowa, whether it's commercial, ag, residential. We have a prior abstractor on staff here, and then an attorney that we work with regularly that's here that kind of help make up our team. So I always like to say there's not a lot that I haven't seen in 23 years of doing this, but I am pretty much shocked every week. About what I come across and what I learn, thinking that I've seen it all. And then I literally see something new every week that I'm just like, wow, I just can't believe I'm seeing this.
Yeah, I almost like enjoy it. Like I've seen a lot of things in real estate myself, and it's like, it's the weird stuff and challenges that pop up. That's kind of like, I mean, it can be like challenging and frustrating. It can be all those things, but also it's like keeps it fresh. You're like trying to figure, wow, haven't seen this one before.
Yeah. And I think like now just where I'm at in my career, it's more, I would get more enjoyment out of it now, the more challenging the problem. Whereas, years ago, I would maybe get frustrated and, upset about something that was going on. And now I just, hey, there's a way to figure out everything. There's no reason everybody needs to get upset, and everybody needs to calm down. We're going to work through it. So I think just having that mindset now, after doing this for so long, you would think you would get tired of it, but I actually enjoy it still just as much as I did the first day. I love doing my closings. I actually just came from a closing. A young lady moved here from Texas with her 3 kids to start new. She met somebody, she's engaged. She's so excited. I was excited for her. Like it was hard to leave. I just wanted to stay there and help her move in and unpack her house. And just exciting. It's just that being involved in that pivotal point in people's lives. I don't know. I'm very passionate about it. And I think everybody deserves that experience. So
I totally agree. Like that's the best part about this is going through that emotional celebration. Usually, not always, but usually
mhm,
with the people. That I mean, that's why I love buyers. I've always liked buyers
mhm.
because it's so fun to see them go through that process of getting this, especially first time home buyers, it's like their first time. That's a huge deal.
Yeah,
But it's also for anybody that's moving for whatever reason,
yeah,
it's typically fairly joyous and at least exciting
right.
and all of that. So it's fun to share that with them.
It is. And I mean, it's just a blessing to be able to be a part of it. Like,
Hmm.
some people only experience that once or twice in their life. And just
Hmm.
be there with these individuals when they're experiencing that moment, it's a blessing. I don't know. There's a lot of times I get choked up. I get the chill bumps. I always say
Yeah.
it makes me think of when, if you're ever in the hospital and a baby's born and they're taking the baby over to the nursery.
Hmm.
Uh, a lot of hospitals have little chimes that they chime when they're moving the baby from the like over to the nursery. And
Yeah.
I always feel like that's the kind of moment, like when they sign their last paper and you let them know that like all this work that you put into is done, like the house is yours, like that relief
Yeah.
that everything is okay. So it's exciting for me as well.
Yeah. Well, I can tell that you're passionate about it. And that's why I love being a partner with you because you're just so involved in a positive way. Like you're there with the people and agents too. That's what's cool about this is that I can tell that you're passionate about just helping people and seeing them succeed and get on to the next
Mhm.
phase of growth, whatever that looks like.
Right. Everybody's phase is different. Everybody's in a different phase. I like being the like the the trunk to the tree. Like I'm
Mhm.
here. I want to share all my knowledge with everybody as much as
Yep.
I can, and help other individuals grow. And
Yeah.
that's important to me. That's what I take pride in sharing my knowledge with others.
And that's amazing. And I think, almost everybody on the show is like that. That's why people come on this show and why I seek the people I do is because they're coming to share and help people and come from that abundance mindset. And I say that so much because there are so many people out there that don't, and they don't understand the value in helping other people and sharing all of your knowledge, not just little bits, but you can share it all. Like
Mm-hmm.
you really can. And it just improves the whole community, overall, just by being that way. And it's just a
Right.
pleasure to be around people like that,
Yeah.
people like you.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you then. So
Yeah.
this is a little bit personal business, but so could I use you in Las Vegas for, closings and stuff in Las Vegas?
I don't have my license in Vegas any longer.
Okay.
It's not to say I can't get my license back in Vegas. Like
Right.
Vegas is a brick and mortar business,
Yep.
so you'd have to have an office out there.
That's
But
what I was
for
wondering.
your signing any of your clients, any of your sellers that are out in Vegas, I could partner with whatever settlement company that you're using if they aren't offering a run service to the clients. That's something that you could request. Any agent can request that to their settlement company that to have our company involved for the actual signing of the transaction.
Mhm.
That's always an option. Yes.
Okay, good. That's what I was wondering if we could figure out how to partner that up because the people that I work with there, they're amazing. I have great partners in escrow and title, but and maybe some of them have this, but it would be cool to be able to add this, virtual signing
Mm-hmm.
notary part to it. That would be
Yeah.
amazing. I'm going to talk to a few of my partners about it after this, so that'll be cool. What else did I have here? So, and then you were talking about your staff. You have an attorney, abstractor, all of that. So you have a well-rounded uh, staff that can kind of tackle any problem. So the lender will handle what? Does your in-house lender handle the title? What do you call it? Review?
No, the lender that actually rents space from our Grand Avenue Executive Suites, that's just a lender that's in here renting space. I actually
Did I say
developed.
lender or did I say attorney? I meant attorney.
Oh yeah, there's a lender in here, but yeah, the attorney that's in here. We brought the attorney on last year on staff just to kind of complete the circle of the title process. So generally in Iowa, you have a settlement company, and then there's a separate attorney, and then you have the abstract company, and then you have title guarantee. So basically, and the lender. So there's 5 basic entities that are needed in order to make the transaction happen. Mm-hmm. My goal when I set out was to be in control of 4 of them. Mm-hmm. I'm not in the financing part of it, so the lender part is the 5th piece of the puzzle that I won't ever have control over. But what I wanted to have control over to provide a streamlined process was the escrow and closing, mm-hmm. Which I had. I wanted to be able to have an attorney on staff to review title opinions in a timely manner.
Title opinions, that's the word I was trying to say.
Yeah, title opinions. I wanted to have an abstractor just because somebody with abstracting experience is a great asset to have. They understand the ins and outs of an abstract. They understand how to look at a survey or a plat and understand that, the property that's in question, there's certain requirements for different property types. Legal descriptions are a huge part of our work that we do. Mm-hmm. Documents are filed by a legal description. So if your legal description is wrong, it creates issues. And as somebody that's issuing a policy to ensure a lender's position, it's an important step. So it's nice to have that. Oh, go ahead.
No, I want to interrupt you there just a sec. So the abstractor goes over this legal description and provides that or
so, what Jolene does, she's not technically an abstractor anymore. She was an abstractor. Right. She's my title support. So we have abstracts that come in that we might question whether they belong to the parcel that we're selling. So she can review that and help us. I have a lot of knowledge in it, but not as much as her. So she's able to look at it and tell us if there's any issues. She reviews all the title opinions after the attorney prepares the opinion. Wow. To make sure that the information in the opinion is sufficient to satisfy Iowa Title Guarantee's requirements, which is important because I'm issuing my policy off of that opinion, and I'm the one that's responsible for it. So that's an important part of it. And
a little bit about that. So the title guarantee and an opinion, right? That's like title insurance in another state, right?
Right. So title guarantee is similar to title insurance. Mm-hmm. So in other states, you would either do a title search, and a title search would be done in title insurance states. In Iowa, you would update the abstract and prepare a title opinion. So it's basically 3 steps and you get to the same goal. So in a title insurance state, you do a title search, an attorney on staff or an examiner examines that search and prepares a title insurance policy or a binder. In Iowa, we update an abstract, an attorney reviews that abstract and prepares an opinion, and we prepare our title guarantee from that opinion.
I'm writing all this down.
It's okay.
This is great.
So, it's, you get from A to B, just a little different route. Yeah. And essentially, title guarantee was formed quite some time ago, just some history on it. Back in, it was like 1947. It's hard to believe that there was title insurance and things like that back in 1947, but there was basically Chicago Title Insurance Company, and I'm going off the history that I remember. I could look it all up. But anyway, so it was around 1947, Chicago Title. They went bankrupt and left a lot of lenders high and dry. And several years went by where there really wasn't a set standard for title insurance or real estate closings and protection. And that's when Iowa Title Guarantee was basically formed around 1985 is when they came up with this program to ensure stability in the title in the real estate market in Iowa. And they just put into a place where we have abstracts that are reviewed by an attorney, and proper title clearance was important. And to be part of the title guarantee program, you got to be approved by title guarantee. So pretty much any attorney in the state of Iowa can do a title opinion, but only an attorney that is approved through title guarantee can provide an opinion that we can use for a title commitment. So not every attorney is eligible for that. They have to be a part of the approved system. So that was the fourth piece of the puzzle, if you would say, to putting the company together. Was for years, that was something that I wanted to be able to do, was to be able to produce my own title guarantee policies. It was a pretty far-fetched dream, because essentially, if you were not an attorney in Iowa, you could not get the certificate or the approval from Iowa Title Guarantee to issue a title policy. So I almost felt like, well, unless I went to law school, that was another part of the puzzle that I would never obtain. But then I just decided, it was about 4 years ago, I've been swimming, it felt like upstream my whole career, trying to do things that everybody else wasn't doing. So I just applied. I put an application to Title Guarantee. I sent them all my experience. I sent them references. And shockingly, I got a response and just said they wanted to visit with me about what I could offer the Title Guarantee system because of my knowledge. And 6 months later, I got my license. I am proud to say I'm the only non-attorney issuing field agent for the state of Iowa. To my knowledge, I mean, that's how it was when I got my license. I would assume that there could be more, but I don't think there are. So that's, it's a proud honor to be able to promote Iowa Title Guarantee, which I think is important to the consumer. I think in other states where title insurance is common, that's just a normal. Like, if you're going to buy a property in California, you're getting title insurance. Like, it's just standard, whether you're paying cash or not. It's a conversation that realtors have with their clients all the time. Yeah. However, it's weird in Iowa. There's this misconception that if your lender doesn't want you to, if your lender doesn't want title guarantee, which some banks close without title guarantee because they have a title opinion and they feel that that is sufficient enough to guarantee any issues, that owner's title policy is not purchased for the buyer, and they're not even given that option. Wow. So that was part of my passion, was to be able to educate real estate agents and other individuals in our industry, along with consumers, that title guarantee is very important. Like, you're relying on land records and individuals to prepare documents that are essentially a record of the land that you're spending. It's like your biggest investment. Yeah. To close and purchase something without any type of guarantee that what you're buying is what everybody says it is, it's just, it seems a little crazy to me. So that's part of my passion, is educating everybody as to why it's important to have title guarantee. And with the state of Iowa, that it's a program, it's a program that is, they take all the funds and they put it back into the programs within the state. So all the housing programs that are funded through the state of Iowa are funded primarily through the Title Guarantee Program. It's a nonprofit.
I was thinking about this. So
the premiums are very low. It's $175 basically to cover your transaction up to $750,000. So when a lender wants to purchase a policy, the owner gets a certificate at no charge. But when your buyer's paying cash or the bank doesn't want it, it's up to the buyer to decide if they want to spend that $175. Okay. Part of that is, it's an education thing, teaching somebody about what title defects are. Yeah. It's undisclosed liens, it's errors in document signing, defective legal descriptions can cause issues. Just errors in searching the public records, fraud, forgery. And again, you don't see a lot of that type of stuff in Iowa or in our areas or our markets. Yeah. But it just takes one situation. And that's the nice thing about title guarantee. They make it so inexpensive that it should be an easy decision for your client to make.
No brainer. Yeah.
Right. Because you can't retain an attorney for $175. So, that's part of the program. Another, thing to point out is, yes, we all have errors and omissions insurance, all the individuals that are involved between the abstractor and the attorney, but there's limits to those errors and omissions. Like, there's limits to what their insurances cover. And it just seems it's a smart decision to just purchase the title guarantee to protect yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the program.
What happens if what if the property costs $1 million?
So after once you hit that $750,000 threshold, you have to have a mortgage survey done. First of all,
Okay.
mortgage surveys run about $1,500, and it's different than the survey that's done on the land. It actually is a survey that's done to just ensure that the structure sits within the boundary lines of the property and that there's no encroachments on the property. So that's one requirement. And then it's just a per $1,000 per thousand after 750. So the premium just goes up after $750,000 by $1 per thousand.
Okay. So in the event that there is $1 million purchase, then somebody has this conversation with the buyer.
Yep.
To say, hey, if you want to go above the 750 threshold, or can they just insure it, like get that guarantee up to 750? And if they have to,
the 750 cap is just the price. It's $175 up to 750,000. After 750,000, it's $1 per thousand.
So so if somebody was buying $1 million house, they would have to pay for that survey and do the additional coverage, or can they just cover it up to 750 and be like?
I mean, they could choose to cover it up to 750,
okay.
But they're going to want to cover it for their full purchase price.
Right. I'm just wondering if somebody wants.
Yeah. So I mean, it'd be another $250 to go up, plus a survey to go up to that cap. Still a drop in the bucket when you're spending $1 million on a piece of property.
Right.
Yeah.
Drop in the bucket for, if they got that kind of money, they can drop all kinds of buckets, right?
But yeah, the bucket can be filled over and over. Essentially that's what it is. It's $1 million title insurance policy. I haven't looked at title insurance rates for years. I'm guessing that's probably upwards of $3,000 for $1 million title insurance owner's policy. So it's pretty comparable by the time you pay for a survey and buy your title guarantee policy.
I should know that off the top of my head, and I don't. I don't believe it's quite that high, but I could be wrong. The average price in San Diego is about $1 million.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's just a regular old, not very good house.
It's crazy.
Nothing fancy is what I'm saying.
I almost wonder what the house is that we lived in when I was born. It was on Pocono Street in San Diego.
Pocono. Do you know what part of town?
No, I'd have to go and look. But
yeah, I can look it up too. But Pocono. It almost sounds like a Claremont Mesa type house. But I know most of the streets over there. I haven't. But it could be tucked away.
Yeah.
But wow, cool. Jeepers. That's so much amazing information. And I know we've talked about this stuff before, you and I, but I'm glad that we're getting to kind of put it out to the public. And I'd love to kind of organize this into, well, actually, what's the sheet that you have for me? Should we take a look at that?
Yeah. So that's just a flyer that's put out by Iowa Title Guarantee. It's on their website, and it just is just a quick synopsis of basically what Iowa Title Guarantee is and why it's important. So, I mean, it's for primary residence, second homes, vacation homes, investment or rental properties. It tells you what the title defects are. I kind of went over that with you a little bit. Talks about why, what the price is. Is it expensive? It's not expensive. We discussed that. And then it goes over the fact that the owner's policy is provided at no charge up to $750 when the lender purchases a policy. And depending on what market you're in Iowa, in Northwest Iowa, there's a lot of banks that don't put title guarantee on their transactions. So this is something that we're seeing closings happening. I mean, every day that we're not involved in, where buyers are not being protected by title guarantee. So that's why I feel it's important to educate the real estate agents to help educate the borrowers. It's not the loan officer at the local banks are not, promoting this program as much as I feel that they should. So I like to try to educate as many real estate agents as I can to help them educate their customer, to advocate for themselves, to let their banker know that they understand that the bank doesn't want the title guarantee, but they would like to have an owner's policy, and it's their right. And that's something that I can issue on any real estate transaction in the state of Iowa, whether I'm involved in it or not. So there is some requirements in order to put the policy in place, just some search requirements and post-closing searches that, you know, I always say on average, if your lender is not buying you that policy, it's about $500 between the premium to title guarantee and then the additional search that needs to be done after closing. So,
how would somebody check to see if this was on like something that they purchased?
You would have to, you could look at your closing statement. It would be disclosed on your closing statement, or you could reach out to Iowa Title Guarantee Direct with your property address and see if you have the title guarantee.
Okay, cool.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
And then it just goes through that the policy never expires. It stays with the client the whole time that they own the property. And if they refinance it, nothing changes. It's kind of like when you file for a homestead on your property. Once you file it once, it stays on there until you sell. The same with title guarantee. Once it's in place, it's on your property until you sell.
Cool. And what would you imagine that the percentage of people that buy a house in Iowa, what percentage do you think have the guarantee?
I would have to venture to say
80?
Well, I would say in Northwest Iowa, probably 60%.
What about like the whole state? But yeah, okay. Northwest is not. I
would say it's probably right at 50%.
That's what I'm
do closings all over the state of Iowa, and there's still a lot of banks and a lot of these little towns that just rely on the attorney's title opinion and just go with it. And I just always think that's great that the banker thinks that, but the banker's not going to, the banker might not be here in 5 or 10 years when the client has some title issues.
Yeah. And they're not going to shell out the money to correct the cloud.
Right. And,
right.
I always say I'll be here as long as I can be here. I'm pretty much sure I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here till retirement, but
I heard you're going to live forever, so they can pretty much get a hold of you.
Right. I mean, that's just it. Like, we can't predict the future. So it's just important for every homeowner to be protected, especially, you would never buy a car without insurance.
Yeah.
You put, structural insurance on your home. Why not insure the land that you're buying, that your home's sitting on? It just.
Well, two things too is like, I don't believe it's optional on the West Coast. If it is, that would be weird. Nobody has ever questioned they wouldn't want title insurance.
It's not even on the West Coast. It's just title insurance in any state. It's never even questioned. It's just.
But is that optional? That's like, I never even thought of it being optional, but nobody would be like, because I've had different ones come up where they're, so here's a good point, right? So this is going to protect you against claims against your property of ownership even. So if somebody's like, something wasn't filed right, or you said the legal description was wrong, and whatever it is, it could mean that somebody might actually own rights to your property in some way. And who's going to pay for that correction or whatever that is? That's what this policy, one part of it, is going to help. They're going to go to legal bat for you essentially to fix whatever the cloud or encumbrance is.
Right. And I think you'll see, I can't speak for all title insurance companies. I know when I was doing title insurance based out of Minnesota, we were underwritten by Fidelity and Westcor. And within our office, we could not handle a transaction that didn't have title insurance on it. It was just
not. I was going to say, how many lenders even want to be a part of something that's not?
Yeah, even a cash deal. As a title insurance company, as a settlement company,
if you're handling it.
Right. There was
you don't want that.
There was not a transaction that could close without title insurance. We didn't do cash deals with no title insurance. It was not an option.
Yeah, it just sounds crazy because who would want that liability, and who, as an owner, would want to leave that up to possible, with no
protection,
remedy, protection. Yeah.
Right. And what I think some people misunderstand is that, their opinion is that, well, the records have been searched. Everybody's looked at the records, but just because a document is not recorded does not mean it's not valid.
That's true. That's true. Somebody could have a written contract of some sort, even a verbal contract in some crazy reasons. I'm doing all kinds of
exactly. So I mean, you could have, an unrecorded personal mortgage that so-and-so gave us, and it's just not recorded, and then somebody passes away and they're going through the records and they find this mortgage where Jim borrowed $15,000 to the neighbor as a lien on the property and it never got recorded, but it's still valid. I mean, just because it's not recorded, just things like that. Like, it's not common. It doesn't it happens. So that's why we have title guarantee and title insurance.
Yeah.
So you want to take the risk, basically.
Yes. Okay. Let's go through this one scenario here and then we can wrap it up. So let's say there is an issue and there's an undisclosed mortgage, personal mortgage thing, and let's call it. Okay, well let's just use your example, the $15,000. So what is it Iowa title guarantee? Those got the title guarantee.
Yep.
And what do they do? They'll go find it. I mean, how do they remedy it? How do they pay the $15,000 to the guy that has the mortgage?
Well, yeah, you would file a claim with title guarantee, and they would do their due diligence and their research, and they would have to determine whether the document was valid. Yep. And if it was a valid document, it would be a claim that would need to be paid.
Okay, now is there a limit on that? So let's say it was $1 million because it's like 2,000 acres of farmland and whatever.
You're covered up to your policy amount. So that would be if you bought a house for $1 million but only wanted a $500,000 policy, you'd be covered up to $500,000.
Okay. So they'll cover up to the amount so that's your insurance cap.
Yes.
So let's say then, is there this kind of guarantee for really like a big agricultural property?
Yep. Ag land can be insured as well.
It'd just be pricey because, like, if we're talking.
Yep, $1 per thousand over $750.
Okay, so it's just the math.
This math, yeah.
Okay.
We have a file that, I see things, a lot of different things. So, just example, right now, I have a client that purchased a property on sheriff's sale a few months back. Did some work to it.
Essentially a foreclosure, right?
Foreclosure. Goes to sell it, and there's a Wells Fargo HELOC loan from 15 years ago that's still unsatisfied and was not it was not disclosed in the foreclosure. Yeah. $15,000. That was the value of the mortgage. And he, from Minnesota, didn't purchase any title insurance or title guarantee on the transaction.
He's an investor. He knows better.
Yeah. 3-week closing delay. But come to find out, like, it's a mortgage that had been paid off, just not satisfied. However, very lucky, because if it had not been paid off, he could request that the foreclosing bank, he basically would have to request that the foreclosing bank open the foreclosure back up and foreclose on this mortgage that wasn't part of the foreclosure, all his costs.
Oh, yeah.
So it was.
But could they have taken away the property? Could they have foreclosed and kept the property, or not really, because it already did that?
Essentially, yeah.
Did they have to settle?
I necessarily wasn't panicking that much about it, because essentially, if there was still debt owed, foreclosure, Wells Fargo would have been working that account. They wouldn't have just been letting it sit dormant. But
if there was debt, yeah. Since there wasn't, they didn't really.
Right, but that could happen.
Yeah.
And he didn't purchase any guarantee or title insurance or anything on that. So that's just one example of an issue. We had another situation. We were handling a transaction. It had closed, and come to find out, like 6 months after closing, the seller had been divorced and had a quitclaim deed executed, removing his ex-wife from the title to the property. 6 months after closing, come to find out, the ex-wife had been institutionalized. And the person that signed, she got out, got done with her treatment, got out, found out she didn't have her house anymore. and the person that actually executed the quitclaim deed was not her, and the notary that notarized the quitclaim deed didn't get any identification. What? So now we had a quitclaim deed removing someone's title interest on a property that had just sold to a whole nother individual.
Wow.
And that's exactly a huge legal mess right now. And that's something that I could never predict. I wasn't part of that quitclaim deed process. It was a recorded document, seemed to be valid. Abstractor wouldn't know any different. Attorney wouldn't know any different. I don't know any different.
Yeah, all the stuff was right on its face, but somebody just committed forgery and or fraud on that signing. So
so now they're negotiating, compensating this prior title holder for her property that was sold out from underneath her. That's a huge. It'll be a lawsuit. But
massive.
Yeah, I mean,
and
those
whoever committed the fraud is probably going to jail too.
You never know. That's just the spectrum.
Yeah. Yes.
Things that can happen.
It makes it really simple in my mind that why wouldn't you? I mean, like I said, I didn't even think of it would be optional, but it's and it's also like home inspections. I've had maybe 2 people, not take a home inspection, and it's because they were, uber wealthy and they had plenty of cash and they knew how to inspect a house. I'm like, okay, good for you if you want to take the liability. For the average homeowner, like, this was this guy's like 8th or 9th random house that he was just trying to hedge income into because he was making too much money. So he was trying to buy houses to diversify his portfolio, and so I mean, like, I get that. I was like, okay, fine, like, good for you. Like, but for the normal person, I would say have somebody take a look at it, because like I've done thousands of these inspections. I go through them. I know most of how it all works. But first of all, I don't want that liability. And second of all, there's stuff that it's beyond my scope that I don't check and I don't know how to recommend. I'm still learning things every time I do it too. So it goes kind of along with that. There's all these things to protect the liability and future issues that we can't predict. So
So no matter what the product is that the client's getting, I just feel like our position in these transactions is to advocate for the consumer with what we know. Like, we can't make them do anything, but I just feel like we are, the state gives us our licenses and we kind of forget not only do we get approval from the state of Iowa to be in the capacity that we're in, but on top of that, if you were to dig down into the requirements of what it means to hold the licenses that we hold, our goal is to educate our consumer, protect them to the best of our ability, and do our due diligence to help them reach their goals. And I think sometimes that's forgotten just in our daily activities when we're, running our transactions. So that's just another reason why coming on a platform like this and being able to just talk openly about it, praying that I can just maybe resonate into one real estate agent that's maybe listening that, yes, it's great that you're transacting, listing and selling homes and things like that, but there's another level of it too. And, protecting our consumer with their most important purchase essentially in their life is important. And that's why title guarantee is important in the state of Iowa.
Yeah, I love it. And, I will be an advocate here. I've worked with you multiple times, and I had one recently that was one of like our transactions, and our TC didn't do any of the ordering of anything up front. So we had like a week to do it all. So instead of going to you, which I wish I would have, I was like, let's just go with the closing people they already have, that they've already started everything on their side, and get it wrapped up. And I mean, it was a phenomenal disaster. I mean, it wasn't like nothing, it got done, but I mean, we're still having like issues trying to figure out where the checks are and all of this stuff. And it's like, I'm just saying, when you have somebody like you with all these pieces in place, you make it a seamless and easy transaction for the whole thing. So I learned from my lesson, even though I was trying to do the right thing, but
right. And it wouldn't make sense. I can see exactly why you would do it.
Yeah, otherwise I wouldn't have. I would always put for, by the way, just so people out there know, because I also didn't really know this, that the buyers can pick their own closing people aside from the sellers, right?
Exactly. It's the buyer's right to choose. So it's even for their bank. Like the bank may have a relationship set up with the closing company, but it's still the buyer's right to choose what closing company they want. And I can appreciate the relationship. I have relationships with banks that I've worked with for years. Sure. And a buyer, I'll get a call and say, hey, we have this transaction. You're handling the listing side, but we want to let you know the buyers picked another settlement company. And I can appreciate and respect that for one reason or another. But I always say that, the goal is to get the client into their home, get the transaction closed. And I do feel like in all my years of experience, we do have, things in place here that make the transactions go a lot smoother.
You truly do.
For one. And two, we're not, there's not a lot of companies out there where you're actually, the closer owns the company. Like this is Colleen and I's company, and we will do everything we can to make the experience great for the clients, whether it's the real estate agent, the lender, or the consumer, because this is our business. It's important to us.
Your reputation is attached to it.
Right. And we're not just an employee. So I think that's the difference that you'll see between our company and other companies. Not that I've worked with every settlement company in the state of Iowa, and everybody has their attributes that they do well at. And we just have a different system in place here, and it works good. We haven't, I've worked with clients in the past that I don't work with anymore because we don't have the same frame of mind and how things work. And I can respect that and I appreciate that. And that's one thing that when I'm working with somebody new, I just always say, hey, constructive criticism is important. If things are not going the way that you want them to go, we need to know about it. There's relationships that I've had in the past with individuals, and we don't work together anymore just because we're not at the same level, and I can respect that. Sure. My job is to protect our company and our clients and, maintain the standards that the state of Iowa puts in place for us. And that does hurt some relationships sometimes when you have to enforce those standards. So it's important.
Yeah, well, I can totally vouch for you and the whole company because I've used you, and it does make it seamless. And I hated that I had to do that other one. And unless it was like, which I thought this one kind of was an emergency, then I would always definitely advocate for everybody to work with you because it makes it so much easier and so much smoother.
Well, I appreciate that.
Because there's so many people around, and people are literally telling us in this transaction, well, you got to talk to this person, or I don't do that. They just say, oh, you need to ask the other person. Like our closing people are telling us to go ask somebody else. And I'm like, no, you figure it out. Like you're the closing person for us. I don't care about closing people. So anyway, let's just leave it at that you guys are the best. But you really do go to bat. And I know that you take great care of everybody, and I've never had an issue. And so highly recommend everybody work with Katie and Colleen at KC Title and Closing. With all that said, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been great. It was so much information that's helpful to everybody, consumers and agents alike. And thank you for being so sharing and open with all of the things that you do and explaining all of this for people.
Great. Well, I appreciate being able to be on the program today. And for anybody that's watching, my information's on there. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about anything that we've talked about today. Whether you work with another settlement company or not, I completely respect that. It doesn't hurt my feelings to share my knowledge and information with you, whether you use our company or not. I just think it's important to protect the consumer, and I enjoy sharing my knowledge with everybody.
Yep, that and any brokerage can call you and work with you. This is not any brand.
Exactly. Yep, we can work with any licensed realtor or brokerage lender in the state of Iowa.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming on. We will be seeing all of you on Thursday for our real estate news, national real estate news segment. It's been a pleasure seeing you all, and I hope you all have a good day. Now we'll play some outro music. How about that?
Thanks, Shay.
Thank you.